Our water is perhaps our greatest resource. It affects every bit of our lives, and what we do has a massive effect on our water as well. Here to talk about that often complicated relationship is Oakland County Water Resources Commissioner Jim Nash. Jim, appreciate you joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you on with us. So, of course, big storm yesterday on Monday knocked out power for hundreds of thousands of people across the Metro Detroit area, across southeastern Michigan. And in Oakland County, there were a few communities, Commerce Township, Walled Lake, and Novi, that as a result of this storm ended up going under a boil water advisory that is in effect, that was issued by the Great Lakes Water Authority. Can you take us through what the concerns are when you have a power outage and it affects a water treatment station and you have that loss of pressure? Just what issues does that cause in our local area for our water?
Well, the thing is, it has to make sure it's safe. Generally speaking, when we're doing these kind of things, once the problem is solved, we have to do 2 days worth of testing to see if there's any bacterial residue left in. When you lose pressure, what that can do often is pull in things back into the system that you really don't want there, because it reverses that pressure. We have a program, and every community has it, where we check sprinklers for people's homes, sprinkler systems in the ground, because if there's negative pressure, it can pull things out of the ground into the water system. So to prevent that, we have backflow preventers that have to be installed in anything that's underground. A lot of commercial operations that we have things where people have to have some kind of backflow preventers, so that doesn't happen. In the best of cases, that things can happen though, so that's why we have to do that testing to make sure that we haven't been affected by negative pressure bringing things into the system.
And so, as these issues arise, how do water resources across the communities, whether it be the Oakland County Water Resources Commission or it be the Great Lakes Water Authority, how do these groups partner together to help prevent these sorts of issues from popping up, but also to respond to these issues and alert the affected communities as soon as possible?
Well, it depends on the community. We operate and maintain for Commerce Township, so we are in charge of all those kind of things. In Novi, they do all their own work. We have operations and maintenance for about 17 communities in Oakland County. Some very large ones, from like Farmington Hills all the way down to little tiny ones, Kego Harbor, communities like that. So we range everything, but other than the ones that we operate and maintain, they all do their own work. So they're going to be the ones to make sure that the systems are up to pressure and they have all those controls over that. And we help with that. Virtually everybody that gets these kind of water in Oakland County is they're customers of Great Lakes Water Authority. So they're in charge of the pressure. They're in charge of all those things, notifying people, because it's their systems often that do that. So whether it's the local system itself that causes the loss of pressure or the larger OMID system like we had a few weeks ago now, up the big pipe up in Lake Huron that broke, that affected well over 1 million people. And luckily for us, in Oakland County, we had enough backup supply for that we didn't really get that kind of low pressure. So we didn't have a boil water notice in most of Oakland County.
We're joined by Oakland County Water Resources Commissioner Jim Nash on the Megacast. Jim, just this month, the first spotted lanternflies in Michigan were detected by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. They were detected in Oakland County on county land in Pontiac. Can you tell us about the spotted lanternfly and ecologically how that could affect our local area?
Oh, well, this is a classic case of an invasive species, and really it's the case of an invasive species bringing in a new invasive species. This lanternfly is very particular to the tree of heaven, which is an invasive species. It was brought in for landscaping for many, many years, and now we are bringing in those bugs that live off that tree. This is the first time that we found this here in Michigan, and it was on property that is part of the Clinton River Water Resource Recovery Facility that we operate and maintain in Pontiac. This was just discovered rather accidentally, and that's how often these things are done. And luckily, when we were reached out to by the Eagle, that we have kind of immediately launched into action. We got the help of actually Oakland County Facilities Management and Operations. They've now worked with us to do to put pesticides in that infestation. It would have taken Eagle a little while to get to that, and so we were able to take care of that infestation right away instead of having to wait, which is good. You know, the faster you do it, the less chance of them scattering into a different direction. These are rather large bugs that have an impact on trees. You know, it's, again, especially the invasive tree of heaven, but also trees that are around it, and they will spread once they are, you know, locked into an area. So responding quick is very important, and I'm glad that we were able to do that.
We're joined by Oakland County Water Resources Commissioner Jim Nash on the Megacast. Oakgov.com is where you can find more information on everything happening in Oakland County from the government's position, including the Water Resources Commissioner Jim Nash on with us today. Some good news in Oakland County and northern Oakland County recently, as officials announced a $110 million sewer project. You had some very positive things to say about this project. Tell us what this is doing for these communities in northern Oakland County and why this is such a great investment at this time in our history.
Well, it was an unusual way of approaching this that we were offered a couple of 3 years ago now, that would allow us to stop the issue that has been growing in these areas of failing septic systems. I can tell you, I sit on the Oakland County Parks Board, and one of our parks up there, Groveland Oaks, has some real issues with failing septics. They were actually trucking sewage out on a regular basis because they couldn't use the old systems. Now this is giving them an option. They're going to do some internal stuff in the park, and then they'll hook up to this sewer system, which, again, what this does is all across northern Oakland County, and it's an issue all over the state, is our failing septic systems in residences and businesses, large and small. So what in this area up here, we have areas that are very business oriented along M24 and I-75, that area up there that allows that have been, you know, have businesses and some light industry up there for some time, but that's being threatened by their failing septics. We've already seen a couple of restaurants close, issues around that. So this allows us to use the Genesee County wastewater treatment plant up north that they're adding to anyway, and they're bringing up some southern Genesee County community sewer flow to them. And they said, well, look, if you come in with some funding to make that pipe larger for our facilities, then you could be part of that, and we can send our sewage up to Genesee to be treated for rather than try to depend on these failing septics. What this does is it allowed us to fix the size of this pipe, so it can only take the size of the area that they want to have switched to sewer. The rest of the area will still be septics. They're larger lots. They tend to be very residential, and they don't want to have a lot of growth. And we don't want to see sprawl either. So we want to make sure that we're just supporting the areas that need support because they're losing the ability to function without a proper sewage disposal. And this will actually, there's 3 lakes that are up in that area that are threatened by failing septics that we'll be able to service those folks, and we'll save those lakes. Kersley Creek up in the village up in Brandon there will be able to get service, and that creek is threatened by failing septics in that area. So they'll be able to expand their downtown that they've been wanting to do for a long time, but couldn't because of their failing systems. So this is going to serve those areas without encouraging sprawl, and make it so they can have those areas for development in the longer term without worrying about it.
We're joined by Oakland County Water Resources Commissioner Jim Nash on the Megacast. Jim, another couple minutes before we'll say goodbye today. Anything else at this time that residents of Oakland County should be keeping in mind in terms of their water or any other issues we haven't discussed yet today?
Well, there are, there's a lot of grants that are going to be coming down in the next few years from the state through those federal programs that were passed last year and this year that will allow us to do significant infrastructure work. A lot of it is geared towards communities that have been underserved for a significant amount of time. So we'll be able to help communities like Pontiac, Royal Oak Township. But we're looking for grants to help with that project up north with an evergreen project that allows us to build infrastructure in Detroit in exchange for better flow from our areas and our sewer systems. We're working on an affordability program with two of our more hard hit economically communities, again, Pontiac and Royal Oak Township, that will be more guided. We got a state grant that will allow us to develop this in a more statewide manner. So any community can develop an affordability plan to help their lowest income folks afford their water and sewer services. Without that, people are left out. Without that, it's unhealthy for the larger population. So these are the kind of things we're working on to make our system more sustainable and resilient for the long term.